The owner of a clothing store hired a man with a disability just to mock him, but when she checked the security camera footage, she couldn't believe what she saw. What seemed to be a burden turns into a lesson in humanity, changing her perspective forever. Peter arrived at the clothing store with a smile on his face, as he did every morning since he started working there a few weeks ago. Despite the motor difficulties that made him walk with slow and somewhat awkward steps, his radiant expression and bright eyes were contagious. He greeted each colleague by name, asking how their families were or how their weekend had been. At 35, Peter carried with him a story of overcoming challenges. Born with a neurological condition that affected his movements, he never let it diminish his enthusiasm for life. He grew up in a humble but loving family that taught him to value every achievement, no matter how small. He graduated in business administration with much effort, doing odd jobs to pay for college, and was now happy to have gotten this job at the store. The store's team was diverse. There was Mariana, a young fashion student who worked part-time; Carlo, a gentleman nearing retirement who took care of the stock; Anna, the efficient but somewhat stern manager, and a few other sales clerks. Most of them had welcomed Peter kindly, although some showed a certain initial discomfort with his condition. Helena, the store owner, was a woman in her 50s, always impeccably dressed and made up. Her perfectly styled blonde hair and upright posture conveyed an image of authority and sophistication. She watched Peter from afar, with an expression that mixed disdain and irritation. "Good morning, Helena," Peter greeted her cheerfully when he saw her. "What a beautiful day today, isn't it?" Helena just nodded briefly without replying. She turned to Anna, the manager, and whispered, "Keep him away from the main showroom today. We have important clients coming, and I don't want him interfering." Anna hesitated for a moment, but eventually agreed. "Peter," she called, "today you're going to be responsible for organising the stockroom, okay?" "Sure, Anna," replied Peter enthusiastically. "I'll leave everything neat and tidy." Helena watched Peter with both relief and disdain, as she had only hired him based on a friend's advice about quotas and social responsibility. To her, he was a burden, someone who did not meet the standards she deemed acceptable. Her behaviour toward him was also a reflection of her own insecurities. Growing up in an environment that valued strength and efficiency, she learned to associate success with hardness, ignoring empathy and human connection. Every kind gesture from Peter confronted her with her own vulnerabilities, generating frustration and anger that she directed at him. In the storeroom, Peter began his work with all the dedication that was characteristic of him. He organised boxes, folded returned clothes, and cleaned every corner, turning each movement into a small demonstration of care. Amidst his tasks, he hummed softly, as if finding quiet pleasure in every detail. Throughout the day, some colleagues stopped by the storage room seeking extra help, overwhelmed by their own assignments. Mariana, busy attending to customers, asked Peter to check the labels on the dresses. He promptly accepted, alleviating some of her burden. Later, Carlo, who needed to leave before closing time, asked Peter to close up the stockroom in his place. With the same willingness, Peter took on the responsibility. Thus, the day continued. Peter took on additional tasks from everyone who approached him, maintaining a serene smile and tireless disposition. When the workday finally came to an end, he felt the fatigue in his body, but a deep satisfaction filled his spirit as a result of another well-accomplished day. The following morning, Helena arrived early at the store, determined to review the security cameras. She wanted to ensure that nothing had been stolen during a recent promotion. As she scanned through the footage, something caught her attention. On the screen, she saw Peter working tirelessly in the storage room. But it wasn't just that. She saw him taking on tasks from other employees, organising sections that were not his responsibility, always with a smile on his face. Helena was intrigued. Why did he do all that without complaining? In the days that followed, Helena began to observe Peter more closely. She noticed how customers reacted positively to him, even if they only saw him in passing. His friendliness was contagious. Weeks went by, and the store's routine continued. And one day, Helena received a call that would change everything. Her sister, with whom she hadn't spoken in years due to family disagreements, was gravely ill. The doctor said she only had a few days to live and asked Helena to go see her. Shocked and confused, Helena informed the team that she would need to be absent for a few days. Most of the employees reacted with indifference, some even with a certain relief. Peter, however, sensed that something serious was happening. That afternoon, at the end of the workday, Peter decided to call Helena. He had memorized the store's number and dialed her cell phone. Helena answered, surprised to hear Peter's voice. "Helena, sorry to bother you. I just wanted to let you know that we closed the shop properly and to check if everything is all right with you. You seemed quite shaken today." Initially, Helena thought about hanging up, but something in Peter's genuinely concerned voice made her hesitate. Before she realized it, she was opening up, talking about her sick sister, the years of estrangement, the regret she felt now. Peter listened attentively without judgment. When Helena finished, he said softly, "Helena, sometimes life gives us second chances disguised as challenges. Perhaps this is the time to heal old wounds and find peace." Peter's simple but profound words touched Helena. She felt tears in her eyes, something that hadn't happened in years. "Thank you, Peter," was all she could say before hanging up. In the days that followed, while she was with her sister in the hospital, Helena couldn't get Peter's words out of her head. She watched how the nurses cared for her sister with affection and dedication, even without knowing her. She remembered how Peter treated everyone in the store, regardless of how he was treated in return. When her sister passed away, Helena felt a mix of sadness and relief. They had managed to make amends in the last days, thanks in part to the courage that Peter's words gave her. Upon returning to the store, Helena saw everything with different eyes. She observed how Peter, even relegated to less visible tasks, was a constant source of positivity. She noticed how the other employees, unconsciously, sought to be near him, as if his presence made the day lighter. One morning, Helena called Peter into her office. He entered, a little apprehensive, but with his characteristic smile. "Peter," began Helena, her voice softer than usual, "I want to thank you." Peter looked confused. "Thank me, Helena? For what?" "For being who you are," she replied, feeling her voice catch with emotion. "For your compassion, your dedication, your strength. I have not been fair to you." Helena then told Peter that she had seen on the cameras how he worked hard, taking on extra tasks without complaining. She spoke about how his words had helped her during the difficult time with her sister. "Peter, I want to make changes here in the store. And I want you to help me," said Helena. "Your perspective, your way of treating people, that's what we need more of." Peter's eyes filled with tears. "Helena, I always knew you had a good heart. Sometimes we just need a little push to let it show." In the months that followed, the store went through a transformation. Helena, inspired by Peter's example, implemented more inclusive policies. She trained the staff to be more attentive to all customers, regardless of their appearance or condition. Peter was promoted to a leadership position where his charisma and empathy could shine even more. The store's atmosphere changed completely. Employees were happier and more motivated. Customers commented on how pleasant it was to shop there. Sales increased, not just because people were buying more, but because they returned frequently, bringing friends and family. Helena, who previously saw the store only as a business, discovered a new purpose. She began to engage in community projects, using the store as a platform to promote inclusion and awareness. On a quiet afternoon, Helena was observing the store's activity from her office. She saw Peter assisting an elderly customer, patiently showing her different clothing options. The lady was smiling, clearly delighted with the attention she received. At that moment, Helena felt a wave of gratitude. She thought about how her life and the lives of so many others had changed because she finally saw beyond appearances, all because a man, whom many would underestimate, had the courage to be kind even when he did not receive kindness in return. Helena left her office and approached Peter, who had just said goodbye to the elderly customer. "Peter," she called softly. He turned, smiling as always. "Yes, Helena?" "Thank you," she said simply, placing her hand on his shoulder. Peter nodded, understanding the full weight of that single word. "We're in this together, Helena. All of us." As she returned to her office, Helena reflected on the journey she had taken. From a businesswoman focused solely on profits and appearances, she had become someone who understood the true value of people. All thanks to a man who, despite his physical limitations, possessed an inner strength capable of moving mountains and transforming hearts. The store, which was once just a business, had become a symbol of how small acts of kindness can create waves of change. And Helena, looking to the future, knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey. A journey of understanding, acceptance and love for others, which she was eager to continue with Peter and the entire team by her side. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.